Okay, welcome everybody. Day 2 of April OTC meeting, and I have the honors today to hold it down as chair of the group. I know we're short in numbers, but it doesn't matter. We're still gonna get us through. Looks like we've taken a big chunk out of yesterday with a lot of action items as we had a quorum. So going into today, there's going to be a lot of informational agenda items for us to address and dive into. So definitely looking forward to that dialogue. But with that being said, we're going to roll right into Director's Report. And so I will move over to you, Director Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Short on numbers, but mighty as ever. So I'm going to start with a sad bit of news. It is with great sadness that I share the news of the untimely death of Tom Lauer. Tom passed away last month. Tom was truly one of ODOT's best and brightest. He made countless contributions to the agency over the course of a very long career, which ended in his retirement last spring. Now, you may recall that at the commission retreat last year, I presented Tom with the Mary Olson Award. I would consider that the highest honor ODOT can bestow upon an employee, just given the energy and the passion for public service that Mary brought to the Transportation Commission. And at the time, I shared that Tom had served ODOT for 30 years in a wide variety of positions and assignments. And they are always the toughest assignments, whether it was the maintenance and operation manager up in Region 1, where he helped coordinate the light rail line and the highway improvements into Washington County. Whether it was the project delivery manager in Region 2 during the 1996 floods, where he helped repair and patch together the arterials that ran from the valley to the coast after Mother Nature bloodied our nose significantly. In 2006, I asked Tom to step in and provide leadership and direction to deliver the $1.3 billion Oregon Transportation Investment Act, dealing with the bridges spread across the I-5, I-84 corridor and places across the state. And then finally, when this agency was handed the statewide radio project, again, went to Tom Lauer to deliver that significant piece of communications infrastructure here. His successful delivery of all these eventually led him to the top spot as chief engineer in the highway portfolio. But listing these positions and these accomplishments certainly doesn't do justice to his legacy. What does are some words shared by the good folks who had the privilege of working with him. I'll share just briefly, just a couple comments. Tom worked tirelessly to inspire employees to work collaboratively to take the next step and do the right things for the right reasons. Tom encouraged his staff to think and work independently and advance ODOT forward. He allowed staff and unleashed staff to be creative, engaged, and empowered. That speaks to the man who was Tom Lauer. And simply put, Tom made this agency and certainly made me a better director. So with that, I bid Tom farewell, knowing that he will be missed, but his legacy stands at the Oregon Department of Transportation forever. With that, turning to something a little lighter, a partnership between the Oregon Department of Transportation and West Salem High School. Now, Rob Trevis, Oregon Department, ODOT's culvert engineering program leader, is faced with a problem. ODOT has thousands of culverts, tunnels that carry water underneath the roadways, and many of them are well past their design life. Culverts can be made out of metal, plastic, or concrete, range from sizes of 12 inches in diameter to 20 feet. And if one fails, it could mean the temporary closure of a piece of roadway or something much worse. Trevis learned that the Minnesota Department of Transportation uses a robot to do some of its culvert inspections and thought that ODOT could do the same thing, only better. He contacted Greg Smith, robotics coach at West Salem High School, and bounced a concept off him and his robotics class. A team of 12 students is now hard at work on the cooperative culvert research project. The goal is to have a fully functional robot ready to roll in late spring. Students will continue to refine the design, testing, and make modifications all along the way. And then there will be a real-world challenge, a test run, an inspection of an actual culvert. Now, those are my words. I want to run about a minute 30 video here and let the students at West Salem explain what they did and what they're doing.
There was volume. Hold on. Bella?
To be able to inspect culverts and develop information about if there are any problems with the culvert, and if so, figure out how to repair it. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to try to save money by making a low-cost culvert inspection.
We're all working together to try to tackle a problem. We have a builder, and then we have the programmers. We have our creative
Specifications we wanted. The environment that had to be in, what size of pipe would go in. Very smart kids, very innovative. Their imagination is beyond belief, and they have a good capability of carrying that vision out into a product.
I've always wanted to experience something like this. It can be challenging, but when you actually experience
Okay.
To be able to inspect culverts and develop information about if there are any problems with the culvert, and if so, figure out how to repair it. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to try to save money by making a low-cost culvert inspection robot.
we're all working together to try to tackle a problem. We have a builder, and then we have the programmers. We have our creative members, and they come up with the ideas that can improve our vehicle. And then we have our research and developing members. Definitely a group effort. We all try to do what we can to make the vehicle what it needs to be.
We met the first time, we gave some of our specifications we wanted, the environment that it had to be in, what size of pipe would go in. Very smart kids, very innovative. Their imagination is beyond belief, and they have a good capability of carrying that vision out into a product.
I've always wanted to experience something like this. It can be challenging, but when you actually experience it hands-on, it really puts things into perspective, and it's enjoyable. And I think it's really made me want to pursue more engineer-type careers in the future.
Well, I appreciate ODOT doing this. It's huge for our kids. I'm looking forward to what the students develop and how it solves this problem.
Excellent. So we certainly thank Mr. Smith and the West Salem's robotic class. We look forward to their real-time experiment and maybe an opportunity to do culvert inspections in a more efficient and financial feasible way. So, Mr. Chair, one more thing before we close out. You may know that the our Transportation Safety Division oversees the Oregon Driver's Education Program and has the responsibility and charge to establish a curriculum for the traffic safety education courses. They have a charge to establish the appropriate procedures to certify that a traffic safety education course meets the curriculum standards. And then finally, establish the qualifications that an individual needs to teach the course itself. Now, there was big news several weeks ago that you may have heard. In Saudi Arabia, there was a significant change that allows women in their country to drive cars. To stand up the training program they need women to teach other women to drive. And of all places they could have gone, Oregon has been tapped to set a historic foundation for the education. Women from our own driver's education program here in this great state have been contacted. 3 of our master trainers are preparing to make a trip to Saudi Arabia soon. So with that, congratulations to those 3 women, to Bill Warner, who is ODOT's driver education manager, and to all the professionals that have made Oregon's driver education program the prize gem that it is. So a little Oregon touch on an international level. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll stand down.
Great, thank you. And I think obviously that is those types of pieces in terms of our engagement and involvement with the rest of the world, not only in the context of just innovation, but more importantly as it relates to equity. I mean, we're talking about a demographic of people that have been oppressed and now being able to be afforded an opportunity to participate in an important element of society. Driving mobility is very significant. I think the department is continuing on its legacy of being stewards and things and being innovative. So I commend you guys for that effort. And furthermore, the West Salem High School concept, I mean, that's blowing my mind right now, just thinking about the future of our system and the role that our next generation is going to play in that and how we start tapping into them early. And so I'm definitely excited about what's next related to that, Commissioner.
I want to agree with both comments. I think the signal from both of them is that the agency is trying to look imaginatively at ways in which it can move us forward in new and important ways. And both of those, in their own way, are examples of innovation and progress in how we engage in our work. And I agree with everything Alando said. So congratulations, and keep looking for those opportunities.
Great. And so with that, thank you, Director Garrett. We're going to be moving into, I believe, item D, which is a progress report and status update on the efforts tied to House Bill 2017. And Mr. Brower, the table is yours.
Chair Simpson, Commissioner Van Brockland. For the record, I'm Travis Brower, ODOT's Assistant Director. And I am standing in today for Kat Silva. We decided that it was probably more appropriate than having her make an 8-hour round trip for a 5-minute presentation, just for me to stand in. So I'll be doing that when we're on some of our road meetings. You have before you the HB 2017 implementation dashboard, which we have provided on a monthly basis and made a variety of refinements over time. We've made some additional refinements to respond to requests from the Commission, to highlight specific actions that we're requesting from the Commission, and also to address Commissioner Van Brockland's request to flag rulemaking efforts. On the front page of the dashboard, where we show all of the status updates on the OTC initiatives, you'll notice there's nothing left in the on hold column. Now that the legislature has acted, there is nothing left to be put on hold. So everything is on the horizon or complete or active. We'll be reformatting this to provide a little bit more detail on that cover page. In the body of the report, you'll see the additional details column now contains information related to when the Commission can expect to see draft work products and also how some of the initiatives interrelate. As we move forward, red, yellow, and green indicators will be added to the interim work product deliverable deadlines to help with future discussions about whether or not we're on track to deliver the items and overall implementation on time. At this point, where our plan is to continue going with this format, and we're always open to additional comments, questions, concerns, and making any changes as needed by the commission to help you understand where everything is moving. One thing I should note, just in terms of a governance and accountability item for the commission on HB 2017, the Secretary of State's Audits Division just held its entrance meeting with us on a real-time audit that they are conducting of our implementation of HB 2017. The idea is that the Secretary of State staff, rather than auditing things that are already complete and then saying, oh, whoops, you kind of missed something here, would be come alongside us early in this process and then help us understand how we're doing and where opportunities for improvement might lie. So they are starting that process. They're going to be looking at three key areas. One is the new statewide transportation improvement fund, the large $100 million a year annual investment in public transportation, as well as the new Safe Routes to School program, because those are two new programs. They also were interested in the accountability, transparency, and performance website that is going to be delivered to ensure that we're providing that full degree of transparency to the public. So we will be working very closely with them, and they'll be providing us feedback over time, and we'll ensure that the commission is kept informed of anything that comes out of that audit. From a substantive perspective, I would just note that there has been a lot of progress made on a lot of the initiatives that are under the commission's purview. For example, the Continuous Improvement Advisory Committee has its first official meeting on Tuesday. Commissioner Van Brocklin is a member of that group, as is Chair Boehne is the chair. And so we look forward to good discussions with them, and the commission will be able to use that group as a sounding board and send things to them for a deeper dive on some of those areas where we have opportunity for improvement. The OTC's modifications of duties and authority at this point, now that you have approved the delegation order and your work plan and the other work, that work is in essence complete, although we will continue to refine that over time. We expect that we'll have continued conversations with the commission about what that new level of authority looks like and continue to refine this as we go forward. You did hear yesterday a little bit about the uniform standards for reporting on conditions of roads and bridges. I think that was a timely statement that there's some additional information needed by local governments. We're actually sitting down with the Association of Oregon Counties and League of Oregon Cities on April 30th. We have a regular collaboration meeting, and the top item on that agenda will be developing a joint communications plan to all of their members that will ensure that they know about the requirements and have the technical resources to go out and do their payment condition review, and then we'll explain to them what the reporting requirements are as well. So we're going to be on top of that, making sure that all of those local governments are aware of those requirements and can comply with that. So with that, I'll wrap up and be happy to answer any questions or take any comments.
Great, thanks, Mr. Brower. Did you have any comments? I don't. I had a quick question. The SEAC group, so the committee's final now, right?
Yep.
We have a final head count. And then is the group going to be heavily involved with the website, the transparency and accountability website? Is there an overlap? Is there some tie to how that group functions with that public platform of messaging?
Yeah, Commissioner Simpson, that was actually something we just discussed. The website is one we are just kicking off right now. The legislature just provided us in February the resources for starting up that website. So we had there have been a lot of staff level meetings. We have a plan, and we just had our executive group come together, primarily me, Jerry, and Paul, because we all have some of the resources that will go into this website. One of the things we talked about was giving the SEAC a role in overseeing that website or providing feedback in particular. They could be a good sounding board as we get ready to go. So we're probably going to bring the website to them in sort of a prototype form in either October or January of next year so that they can provide feedback, make sure that we're meeting all the requirements, and can give us any additional thoughts about how to make sure that this is a good website that provides that full transparency and opportunity for accountability to the public.
And then one last, I would assume that the website is going to have some kind of platform for folks to provide commentary or suggestions or feedback related to, and then those types of commentary will come back to SEAC to talk about or deliberate over in their committee meetings?
Commissioner Simpson, so our current website platform that we just rolled out last year has on every page an opportunity to provide feedback and comment on that web page. And then for every web page, we also have a contact person that will allow people, if they don't just want to type a quick note on a web page, to provide feedback or ask questions or whatnot. We haven't figured out with SEAC yet whether they will play a strong role in that, but that's a good thought, that we can have them perhaps over time as we monitor the website, we could provide some ongoing reports. We get a lot of really great data from our new website. There's this cool tool that is called a heat map that literally shows you exactly on a page where people click, and you can look at where you're getting hits from, how much time people are spending, et cetera. And that really helps you refine, are you providing the information in a format that people want and find useful? So that's the sort of feedback. It's a good idea that we can go back to the Continuous Improvement Advisory Committee over time and go to them and say, hey, here's what we're seeing on this web page, here's the refinements we're looking to make, and then have that continuous dialogue with them.
Great. With that, yeah, thanks, Travis.
Mr. Chairman, I think our business partners from Oregon Main Line, and I see a good-looking fellow from HP Civil as well.
So
with
that, we'll jump to Agenda R.
That's correct.
Agenda R, and coming back online from conversation we had yesterday, I believe. Paul here as well. And this is the invitation essentially from the group from Oregon Main Line Paving to discuss the I-5 North Tigard interchange, the East Portland Freeway.
That's correct, and the acceleration of the schedule.
So, Mr. Chairman, why don't you allow me just to recap what we talked about yesterday, and then I can allow you and the contractor here with me to have some discussion that we talked about yesterday. So, yesterday I was before you to request approval for a contract change order to allow for the acceleration of the work of an important project on I-5 between roughly 217 and 205 to repave that section, as well as to complete the auxiliary lane between 217 and 205. And we all know the importance of that and the value of completing that work early for the lack of disruption during construction, as well as to utilize that additional lane earlier for users of the system. So we went through that yesterday, and one of the concerns I raised was all the other work that Oregon Main Line has around the state and concerns that we have to ensure that this work gets completed on time, but as well as all the other work. So we kind of put a pause in that conversation until we get to today and allow you. So maybe I'll just start and let them introduce themselves, starting at the end. And
Matt Sieber, President of Oregon Main Line Paving.
Jason Fender, Operations Manager at Oregon Main Line Paving.
Larry Gesher with HP Civil.
Josh Smith, HP Civil.
Go ahead. Well, thank you guys for being here. I don't know if Commissioner Van Broecklyn, you had to kick off any questions for them specifically related to this project.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So first of all, welcome. Glad to have you guys here. And we're, I think, prepared to move forward with the proposal which Paul has put in front of us. But before we do that, before we finalize that action, we wanted to have a discussion with you about the range of work you're doing, and with this change, the importance of staying on time, on budget, on all of the work you're doing. So what we'd like to hear from you first is some discussion and some response to the question of, will this change that we're prepared to finalize today have any kind of an adverse effect on all of the other projects you're working on? And the reason we're asking that is because HB 2017 provides us, all of us, the agency and all of its partners, including you, an opportunity to make an important dent in the backlog of work that needs to occur in the state, both on maintenance and repair and reconstruction and new construction. And it also sets how we perform on this bill affects longer-term investments and the level of those investments. So this is right at the center of what we're about. And as a commission, our responsibility is to make sure that we perform or overperform on the agenda that 2017 has put in front of us. So kind of to quote a famous NASA employee, failure is not an option. So could you please just respond about the kind of the total context of work you're involved in and how this change might impact your other projects for us?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank the Commission for having us here. It's a great opportunity for our company and our team, I think, to share some of our feelings with regards to why we presented it in the first place. Thinking it as being an opportunity for both the state as well as the contracting community to join together as trying to bring some of these high-profile projects to fruition a lot quicker so that we can gain capacity. One of our biggest concerns as an industry is having enough people and resources to perform the work that's going to be laid out in front of us in the next 5 years. And one of the ways that we're teaming up, and one of the reasons that we're teaming up with the agency, is to try to gain some capacity through performing projects on a quicker and a more efficient basis. And so this was the opportunity that we saw, was to come together in what we knew was going to be a high-profile project with the state, propose a way that we can not only gain that efficiency and capacity, but give it back to the traveling public in a quicker fashion. With that, we know from our perspective that what's being laid out in front of us over the next 3, 4 to potentially 10 years out in front of us with House Bill 2017, that it's a huge opportunity for us to grow our capacity within the industry. And to do that, we've got to start by making the investment in all the resources that it's going to take to do it. So about a year ago would be about the time that we really started to make that investment. And this is just an extension of that. So the amount of work that Oregon Mainline Paving is currently prosecuting and under contract with was just for 2018 is in the neighborhood of 50 to 60% of our normal historical volumes. That's all predicated on the fact of growing our businesses and investing in our industry and seeing what's coming down the pipeline. We understand the critical nature to finish and to deliver on everything that we're proposing, and that includes not just this contract on I-5, but all the contracts that we have in Eastern Oregon, up near Portland in the Moda Center, down near Grants Pass, over on some of our ancillary highways in the mountains. So we take it very seriously. We're committed to the process. We're committed to the state. We've been in this state in one shape or form for almost 50 years now, and we want to continue to be at the forefront with the agencies and trying to create new ways to bring value to the state. So I hope that clears it up.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that what we don't want to find ourselves doing is saying, because, well, let me stop and say, to some extent, the work we're about it has a statewide impact and it's a statewide system, but it's often said all politics is local. Well, all road projects are not local, and everyone is looking at their project and wanting to make sure it's happening. So what we can't have is, well, we had to pull people off in order to do the I-5 project, and therefore it slowed down 6 other projects that we're under contract to deliver. That's just not going to be acceptable. Because again, it's in the context of our trying to build credibility with the public that we are actually fixing all these problems. And we're not going to fix them all with what we've got into 2017. We're going to be able to make a meaningful set of projects go forward and come to fruition. We really can't have one project bumping 5 others. As important as the project we're talking about is, they're all important, and we have to make sure that we're delivering all of them.